Bismillah, alhamdulillah, wa salatu wa salam ala rasulillah. Welcome to another episode of Haqiqatjou, where we discuss religion and politics, the two least controversial subjects. As always, I'm your host, Daniel Haqiqatjou, and we have a great episode for you today, talking about controversy that erupted at the end of last week, surrounding a tour of Israel by the well-known anti-Muslim attack dog, Tommy Robinson. So he is in Israel, was in Israel, going to Jerusalem, Tel Aviv, and he was interviewing different Muslims in Jerusalem specifically. And there was one interview that he had with an imam that was actually vacationing. And this is an imam from the UK, a madrasa trained imam of a masjid in the UK. And this interview lasted about 12 or 13 minutes, and we're going to watch it, inshallah. And it's just shockingly bad, this interview. It's just shockingly bad what he says, and it's so bad it was universally condemned by Muslims, by activists in general, that the imam had to apologize. And he came out with a letter apology. We're going to look at that as well. And we're going to see that he's not even apologizing for the right things. Even his apology is bungled, and it just reveals a very critical deficiency, a very critical cancer that's affecting many Muslims, and unfortunately within the religious class, the imams class. And it was just so typical when I watched this, the way that he was talking. And Tommy Robinson is not new to debating Islam. He obviously has been agitating against Muslims, against the Quran, against the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, spewing all kinds of trash against Islam. And this imam just fell for every single trap that Tommy Robinson put out. And it was a humiliating display. It made him, obviously the imam, look bad. It made the Muslims of the UK look bad. It made the madrasas, the madaris, look bad by association, by the fact that such an individual who is so ignorant about a variety of issues, not just geopolitics, because that's what a lot of the activists or activist class were criticizing for. Oh, he made a racist remark, or oh, he said something wrong about Palestine, which he did. And those are terrible and condemnable, absolutely. But he was also getting religious issues wrong and compromising on things that cannot be compromised on. And so it's not just a matter of, oh, this is an imam who needs media training. No, this is an imam who has so deeply internalized the liberal, secular, feminist understanding of the world, and he's distorting Islam according to those parameters. And that has to be called out. It has to be denounced, and we have to find the root of this problem. It's not something that you can have a band-aid solution. Oh, if this imam only had some media training, then all would be well. If he only knew about the history of Palestine, all would be well. So we're going to look at this interview, and we're going to analyze it in depth, inshallah, on this episode. And hopefully I'll share with you my analysis and my analysis of the fallout and how revealing it is. So stay tuned. Put your comments in the chat. I do glance at the chat. And if you want me to prioritize your comment, you can submit a super chat. I'll read the super chats at the end of the show, inshallah. You can also subscribe to our newsletter. This is linked in the description below. Don't forget to like this video and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. And yeah, I'm trying something new. A lot of you have been asking for daily shows. You want something daily to watch. You want content that's coming out that's a little bit more topical. So let's try it out. I'll try to put out, as to the best of my ability, a daily show at this time. Every day, 3 to 4 times a week, inshallah, during the weekdays. And we're going to cover these topical issues and bring you analysis, bring you news, bring you some insight, inshallah, and hopefully some entertainment on certain topics as well. So make sure to subscribe and hit the notification bell so you know when we're going to go live, but it's going to be more regular, inshallah. Okay, so let me bring up the interview and start the analysis. Okay, so this is Tommy Robinson, and he tweeted this video, this interview, and he says, as I spoke to this imam from the UK in Jerusalem, it's clear, if you know Islam, that taqiyya will be used to defend the ideology from scrutiny. Yet millions believe that being a non-Muslim is punishable by death. This must be challenged at every turn. It can't be ignored. So this is his introduction to the video. Or actually, this is the wrong video. This is not the 15-minute one. So let me pull that up. But it's interesting that the imam is trying to give a very liberal, acceptable interpretation of Islam. He's presenting things in that way. And still, that's not enough. You're still going to get accused of taqiyya. You're still going to be accused of being a threat, believing that all non-Muslims need to be killed and exterminated. And we know that this is not what Islam teaches. We know that in Islam, there's no such teaching as these anti-Muslim haters want to propagate. This is a teaching in Judaism. You know, this is a teaching that we find explicitly in the Talmud. This is a teaching that we find explicitly in the Hebrew Bible, to exterminate Amalek, to exterminate the best of Gentiles, smash the head of the best of snakes, kill the best of Gentiles. This is a teaching explicitly in the Talmud. And we also see these teachings in the works of the greatest Jewish theologians like Maimonides in the 12th century, who said explicitly that we want to exterminate, we want to kill all Christians. All Christians deserve to die, and Jews must pray for this every day. This is the teaching within Jewish law, but they're trying to project that onto Islam. And this is the media strategy that has been really ramped up in the past few weeks, ever since Netanyahu made that announcement that we actually covered on Haqiqatjou, where he says that, you know, we have this eighth front in the media war, the social media war. This eighth front where we have to be on the offensive on social media. And he said that we need to, you know, be able to control TikTok, X. You know, he was explicit in that kind of statement that we need to control. And since then, we've seen the algorithms change. A lot of the pro-Palestinian content is now less viral. It doesn't get as much views and doesn't get pushed on the algorithm as much as it used to. And a lot of Zionist content, and specifically anti-Muslim Zionist content, is being really amplified on Twitter/X, on social media in general. And I've discussed this on last week. We were talking about how Israel has two prongs to their strategy. Either they want the American public or the Western public in general to like Israel or support Israel. That's been a failure. The favorability of Israel, according to the Western public, is at all-time lows. So they've moved on to a second strategy of, okay, if we can't get the people to love Israel and to support the Jewish people, then we have to ratchet up the amount of hatred against Muslims. We have to get people to hate Islam and Muslims and to view them as these barbaric demons who are out to kill all non-Muslims. That's That's going to be our go-to strategy from now on. And you see that reflected in all of these Islamophobes, all of these anti-Muslim haters have switched gears into this nonstop attack against Islam and Muslims. And you had a big gathering of these influencers like Tommy Robinson, like Apus that we mentioned before, some of these other second tier, third tier influencers. They were flown, all expenses paid, to Israel, basically for training, basically for regrouping, strategy, how they're going to unveil or unleash this kind of battle for hearts and minds by demonizing Muslims, demonizing Islam as much as possible. So we have to be aware of what's actually happening in when it comes to the Zionist playbook. They've used this playbook historically to great effect. This is the playbook that they used after 9/11 to ramp up as much animosity against Muslims so that the Western public will be more likely to support nonstop wars in the Middle East when the US goes on behest of Israel and Netanyahu to invade Iraq, to invade Afghanistan, to invade Libya, and on and on. All of the regional neighbors of Israel have to be either liquidated or brought under the heel of some kind of Western aligned puppet dictator. So this anti-Muslim propaganda has been used to great effect to further that. So now that they're ramping it up, now signals that they have similar military ambitions in the near future. And we're already hearing about Israel trying to relocate a lot of their military to the north so that they can continue to press to even greater extent southern Lebanon. They're already occupying southern Lebanon, but now it looks like they want to accelerate a kind of conflict with Hezbollah and take out Hezbollah and neutralize them in Lebanon while taking more territory. So to get kind of Western support for that, or at least have the West be less of a factor, there needs to be anti-Muslim sentiment ratcheted up to the next level, to 11. So that's the larger context, and we're going to continue to cover it, inshallah, on Haqiqatjou. But let's look at what Tommy Robinson is saying to this imam. So I have to find the... I thought I had it. Okay, here it is. Okay. He's touring the Muslim quarter of Jerusalem. And this imam is named Umair. So he says some really vile things.
Clearly, that the Quran says that to kill one person is as you have killed the entire mankind. Very clearly, that the Quran says that to kill one person is as you have killed the entire mankind.
Can you
save one person is as if you have saved the entire mankind.
Can you carry on reading that verse?
من قتل نفسا بغير نفس أو فساد في الأرض فكأنما قتل الناس جميعا ومن أحياها فكأنما أحيا الناس جميعا.
Can I translate what you said? Unless they cause mischief, and they must have their hands and feet cut off and exiled from the land. Are you from Britain?
Yes, I am from Britain.
I knew you was from Britain, and I see you.
I've seen you a lot, mate.
How are you?
How are you?
I'm good, man. I'm good. Nice to meet you. What's your name?
My name's Umair.
Omar.
Yeah.
Omar, we're obviously in Jerusalem.
Yep.
We're just understanding the complexity of the Jewish side and the Muslim side.
Yeah.
What's your view as a British Muslim on the state of Israel?
I have no issue. As long as people are living in peace, if they have their side, they have their country, and the Palestinians have their own kind of safe spot where they can live freely without under any oppression or any injustice, then I think this is the solution for peace in the Middle East.
Okay, so this is the solution for peace in the Middle East. Tommy Robinson is asking, do you have any problem with Israel? He says, no. He has no problem with Israel. And he says, you know, as long as they have their state and the Palestinians have their safe spot. So even according to this guy, you know, this is what he's saying, a safe spot for the Palestinians. So not even that the Palestinians should have their own state, you know, not even they have an equal state. No, they have a safe spot where they can live freely. So immediately, like, he throws the Palestinians under the bus, and he shows his apparent pleasure or his approval at the state of Israel. You know, this is his solution for peace in the Middle East. Okay.
See, I wasn't expecting to hear that, because I didn't expect to hear many Muslims that would recognise the Israeli state.
Even Tommy Robinson is shocked. I didn't expect to hear that. I didn't expect to hear that. You're going to recognize the Israeli state. You're not even going to recognize a Palestinian state. You only recognize the Israeli state. You only recognize a safe spot for the Palestinians within that Israeli state. So even Tommy Robinson is a little bit checking his ears. Like, am I hearing this correctly?
No, I have no issue. The Israelis, they've been living here for thousands of years. They have a rich history in this part of the Middle East.
Where are you from, bro?
I'm from Britain.
The Israelis have been living here for thousands of years. So he basically is repeating Zionist talking points. The Israelis have been here forever. So they, of course, they have a right to the land. Doesn't mention Palestinians, of course. Doesn't mention, you know, even if we were to believe this lie that the Israelis or the Jews have been there for thousands of years, why wouldn't he be even-handed and say that, well, the Palestinians also have been here and also have a right. When in reality, no, it was just the Palestinians. And yeah, there were Jews, but they were a minority. They were a minority, and many of those Jews converted to Islam. And the current day Palestinians are the descendants of those Jews who converted to Islam. Either he has no awareness of these basic facts, or, you know, he's just bought into Zionist propaganda, or I don't know. Like, what is the explanation for such a egregiously wrong statement, like an egregiously backstabbing statement against Muslims, against Palestinians?
Whereabouts?
Leicester.
Leicester, okay.
Yeah. And if they want to live in this part of the country, in this part of the region of the world, then they can. But what the issue of the mainly Muslim majority population is, as long as they live in peace together, as long as there's not this oppression and injustice taking place, then we have no problem.
What would you say if...
So we have no problem, like, as if the Israelis are there, like, trying to live peacefully, and we're just going to share the land, and we're just going to be good neighbors to our Muslim family. Like, what is he talking about? Does he have no conception of occupation, an ongoing genocide, ethnic cleansing, like stealing more and more land? Like, really, this is, and he says my issue with the Muslim majority. Like, that's the way he phrases it. Like, even in his phrasing, he's putting the burden on Muslims, on the Palestinians, those who have no power, those who have no weapons, those who have no ability to fend off ethnic cleansing campaign or a genocide. It's the burden is on them to live peacefully. So, subhanallah.
If you look at throughout Muslim history, you'll see that when the Crusaders came, then Jewish people expelled from Jerusalem. But when the Muslims ruled, then the Christians, Muslims, and Jewish people lived in peace and harmony.
As long as they paid the jizya?
Of course, as long as they paid the tax, which we live in Britain.
As long as they were subjugated?
No, as long as they live freely. If you read history, there was no oppression, there was no occupation.
Providing they paid special money for protection.
Just like we do pay our taxes.
But the Muslims didn't have to pay the same tax.
The Muslims have to pay extra. They have to pay zakah. They have to pay ushr.
Charity towards Muslims.
No, that goes to the community Baytul Mal. That goes back to the same concept of taxes.
Can I ask you?
I mean, this is not accurate. Again, he's doing this kind of apologetic to make it seem like, yeah, you know, during Muslim history, the Muslim empires, it was a liberal democracy. Everyone had equality. You know, non-Muslims and Muslims, it was an equal system for all. It was basically secular liberalism. The Islamic empires were anticipating the Enlightenment and thinkers like John Locke. We had representational democracy, like everyone has to pay fairly, you know, the jizya, it's just like tax. This is not accurate. Like, you're giving the wrong impression. So Tommy Robinson is not correct in what he wants to portray. He wants to portray like, oh, these Christians and Jews under Muslims, they were brutalized and they were being slaughtered en masse and they were just being subjugated, like the worst kind of subjugation. That's not accurate. And the way that the Imam is portraying it is also not accurate. Like, no, it was a bastion of freedom and equality. That's also not accurate. What the Imam should be doing when you're getting pressed like this, and this is something that you learn when you are engaged in debate or when you are engaged in da'wah and you're trying to argue with these people, that when what Tommy Robinson is trying to do is direct attention away from the crimes of Israel, attention away from the apartheid system within Israel. That's very apparent for anyone that is actually traveling in Israel, that there is a separate line for the Arabs versus the Jews. There are separate streets that only Jews are allowed to go down these streets. Only Muslims are allowed, or only certain streets that are only for Arabs. And they're the back alleys, they're the more inconvenient, the more run down. That two-tier system is something that is acknowledged very clearly by non-Muslim international human rights organizations. Or let's talk about the genocide. Like, any of those topics, Tommy Robinson wants to direct attention to talk about some aspect of Islamic law. Okay, fine. We can talk about the Sharia. We can talk about the jizya. Like, what is actually living under, as a Christian or a Jew living under a Muslim empire? We can talk about those details. It's not a secular liberal democracy, and it's not a the kind of hellscape that Tommy Robinson wants to depict it as. We can have those nuanced discussions. I've had those debates. The one that comes to mind is the debate that I had with David Wood 4 or 5 years ago, where I explained that when you have a liberal secular system, that just means that it's equality for everyone underneath an atheist status quo, an atheist legal system. Everyone has to submit to an atheist belief system because that's the belief system that is put on a pedestal above the other faiths and systems of belief. So for Christians to advocate for secular liberalism or to hold Muslims to the standard, or Islam to the standard of secular liberalism, it just means that you just want to pay jizya to the atheists. You just want to pay jizya to atheists and be subjugated to atheists. Muslims don't agree with that. Islam doesn't agree with that. Islam believes in a system where the truth of Islam is the basis of law, is the basis of justice. That is presumed by Islam. That is this fundamental assumption of Islam, that truth and justice and right and wrong is determined by Islam. And that should be the law of the land to which everyone is subjected to. And Christians historically believed that no, Christianity is the truth, it is the basis of justice, and that should be the law of the land. And Jews historically have had that and still do. They believe that Judaism is the basis for laws and policies, and everyone should be subjected to that. And atheists have their system, it's called liberal secularism, and they believe everyone should be subjected to that. So which system is actually correct? Okay, well, we can debate on that level. Like, what is more compelling, Islam or, Judaism? Judaism, the religion that thinks that only Jews are human and non-Jews are like animals. Like, let's debate on that level, on the level of theology. Or should we debate like Christianity, the religion that believes that God is three people? And yeah, so that's the kind of debate we want to have. But someone like Tommy Robinson just wants to have this kind of grill session of this imam saying, oh, well, you have jizya in Islamic law. Explain that. And rather than challenging the fundamental assumptions of secularism or liberalism, or pointing out that some of the beliefs that are found within Judaism, pointing out the Israeli genocide, apartheid system, occupation, he wants to just sugarcoat Islam and give some bungled answer about, no, jizya is just like taxes. That's not sufficient. That's and you're going to get called. You're going to be accused of practicing taqiyya.
So what would you say if I've just told you I've walked along this shopping street in the Muslim quarter, I've spoke to many Muslim business owners who said they love the State of Israel?
Yeah, that's fine.
But that surprised you?
Right.
It surprised me.
I don't think so.
But they said they're happy living here and they haven't faced discrimination and they feel fairly treated under the State of Israel.
That's perfectly fine.
That's perfectly fine. So Tommy Robinson saying, I'm surprised. I'm going and asking shop owners here in this Muslim quarter, what do they think about Israel? And they're singing the praises of Israel. Isn't that? And I'm surprised by that. Why would you be surprised? It's illegal for Muslims to criticize the state of Israel in Israel. You can't even have a Palestinian flag in Israel. If you have a Palestinian flag in Israel as an Arab or as a Muslim, you're going to get detained. The police or the IDF are going to break down your door in the middle of the night to arrest you. If you have a social media post that in any way is criticizing Israel or criticizing Judaism, you're going to be in a torture camp in Israel. So is it surprising that the Muslims over there, the Arabs that you asked, are going to have nothing but positive things to say about Israel and no negative things? Is that really a surprise?
As long as they're happy, they're living in peace and security, I see no issue with this. And if they have no issue with it, then I have no issue with it.
What's your name?
Omer.
More Muslims like Omer, yeah?
No, I'm just...
Yeah, more Muslims like Omer. Yeah, the Zionist loves this. The Zionist insulter of the Prophet ﷺ, he loves more Muslims like this Imam.
Peace, I don't like this fighting taking place.
What can I ask you of you? The British government just recognised the state of Palestine.
Yeah? I think that's a great move.
Okay, but the Palestinian Authority, who control the state of Palestine, they have a rule and a law where they pay money to people from the refugee camps, Muslims, to go and kill Israelis. So they reward people for murdering innocent civilians. Is that a good thing?
No, of course not. Definitely.
So how can we as a country...
So he has nothing, he can't point out that this is nonsense. Like, this is, what are you even talking? This is like pure propaganda, lies. The Palestinian Authority, of all people, of all groups, is paying Palestinians to kill Israeli citizens. Like, this is complete nonsense. This is just a lie that he is fabricating. And this Imam doesn't have the sense to even say, well, I'm not sure about it. Fine, if you don't know, just say I'm this sounds like very bizarre of what you're saying, and I don't think it's been confirmed. Like, what is the proof for this? Like, just be a little bit skeptical, maybe, instead of just affirming and saying, oh, no, well, I'm completely against that. I completely disagree. Like, just throw the Palestinians under the bus, why don't you?
We recognize very clearly that the Quran says that to kill one person is as you have killed the entire mankind.
Can you
save one person is as if you have saved the entire mankind.
Can you carry on reading that verse?
من قتل نفسا بغير نفس أو فساد في الأرض فكأنما قتل الناس جميعا ومن أحياها فكأنما أحيا الناس جميعا.
Can I translate what you said? Unless they cause mischief and they must have their hands and feet cut off and exiled from the land.
That's not up to Tom, Dick and Harry to decide. That is up to a qualified judge to decide. And if you look in Ottoman history, you'll find very few scenarios where that actually took place.
Can I ask, who's Ibn Kathir?
Ibn Kathir is a great mufassir and Muslim theologian.
Is he very good? Is he recognised worldwide?
Yes.
Ibn Kathir translates the word mischief as meaning not believing in Allah.
Okay.
So that verse that you just quoted.
That's his.
But you just said he's a great scholar. That word that you just that verse that you just translated, according to that great Islamic scholar, translates that mischief, not believing in Allah, must be punished by death, execution.
That's his opinion. Now, if you
just said he's.
That's his opinion. Like, what are you talking about? How is that Ibn Kathir's opinion that, okay, if you are a non-Muslim, the Muslims have to just kill you and exterminate you? Like, how would that be like? And how does that? Let's just go by Tommy Robinson's corrupt understanding or distorted understanding. He just finished talking about jizya. Okay, jizya specifically is for the Jews and the Christians, people of the book, that they pay to the Muslim rulers. So how can there be a jizya policy to tax these Jews and Christians, but also a policy to kill them for their disbelief? How does that make any sense? Even according to his distorted understanding, that doesn't make sense. So this is complete lies against Ibn Kathir. This is complete distortion of the Sharia and hardcore Islamic law. You guys know me. I'm not for any non-Muslims watching. Am I someone that sugarcoats Sharia law? Am I someone that sugarcoats any aspect of traditional Islamic teachings? No. If there were a teaching like that, I would be honest with you and I'd say, yeah, this is what Ibn Kathir says, that, oh, if you're a non-Muslim, you have to be killed. But there isn't such a teaching. And it's completely contradictory to the Quran, the Hadith, and the hardcore Sharia Islamic law. So, and I've explained this many times on the channel in many videos. But what this Imam says is he just, again, throws Ibn Kathir under the bus. Well, we don't have to agree with all his opinions. Yeah, that's true. You don't have to agree with all of Ibn Kathir's opinions, but is this actually Ibn Kathir's opinion? Or you're just going to accept what Tommy Robinson says and not question it? So look at the verse. Let me actually pull it up, because this is what he should have said. Hold on. You'll find this very interesting. So in the Quran, when we read this, okay, this is 532. Sorry. That is why we ordained, or actually let me read this Sahih translation. Because of that, we decreed upon the children of Israel that whoever kills a soul, unless for a soul or for corruption done in the land, is as if he had slain mankind entirely, and whoever saves one, it is as if he has saved mankind entirely. And our messengers had certainly come to them with clear proofs. Then indeed many of them, even after that, throughout the land, were transgressors. Okay, and then the next verse that Tommy Robinson is referring to. Indeed, the penalty for those who wage war against Allah and His Messenger and strive upon the earth to cause corruption is none but that they be killed or crucified, or that their hands and feet be cut off from opposite sides, or that they be exiled from the land. That is for them a disgrace in this world, and for them in the hereafter is a great punishment. So this verse is explicitly talking about war and corruption. So if there are non-Muslims who are waging war against the Muslims, then of course that's a war. You have to fight back. So what's the problem with that? And then when it comes to corruption in the land, if you look at Ibn Kathir and you look at pretty much all of the other Mufassir, they reference specific incidents in the Sirah where you had highway robbers, you had bandits that were stealing and killing Muslims. And their punishment was to have their hands and feet cut off and exiled, as exactly as this verse is describing. So that's the context of these verses. And Tommy Robinson wants to say that, no, this means that if you are a disbeliever, the penalty is death. When clearly that's not what the verse says. And then, the very interesting thing about this verse, if you kill a soul, then that's as if you had killed all of mankind. Here are some other translations. Whoever takes a life, unless it's a punishment for murder or mischief in the land, it will be as if they killed all of humanity. And whoever saves a life, it will be as if they saved all of humanity. There's a passage in the Talmud, the most holy book of Judaism, that Jews believe was revealed to Moses on Mount Sinai. There's a passage within the Talmud that parallels this ayah. And this is Sanhedrin 37a. Let's read this. The court tells the witnesses, therefore Adam, the first man, was created alone to teach you that with regard to anyone who destroys one soul from the Jewish people, i.e. kills one Jew, the verse ascribes him blame as if he destroyed an entire world, as Adam was one person from whom the population of an entire world came forth. And conversely, anyone who sustains one soul from the Jewish people, the verse ascribes him credit as if he sustained an entire world. So this is what the Talmud says. This was the teaching within Judaism predating Islam. But notice how the Quran is correcting the Talmud. The Quran corrects the Talmud because within the Talmud, it specifically is limiting this to a Jewish soul, a Jewish life. Anyone who destroys one soul from the Jewish people, it's as if he destroyed the entire world. Because according to Jewish belief, it's only Jews that are people. And the whole purpose of the world is to serve Jews. That is the belief within Judaism, and the Talmud is explicit about this. But what does the Quran say? The Quran in Surah Al-Ma'idah says that, Allah is saying, we ordained for the children of Israel that you have this punishment for murder or a punishment for mischief in the land. If you kill someone, if you take a life, it is as if you've killed all of humanity. The Quran doesn't say if you kill a Jewish person. So Allah is correcting, the Quran is correcting the corrupted Jewish teaching, the corrupted Talmudic teaching that says the Jewish soul, if you take a Jewish soul, that's like killing all of mankind. Not a Gentile soul. The verse is very clear to limit it to a Jewish soul. And Allah is correcting them and saying, that is not what I taught you. That is not what I endorse. That's not what I ordained for you. This is the correction of the Quran, the correction of the supremacist teachings of the Talmud. And you can read throughout the Talmud the lack of regard for non-Jewish life. And I cited the passage, kill the best of Gentiles, smash the head of the best of snakes in the Jerusalem Talmud. There's also this passage. The Gemara challenges, but wherever there is a liability for capital punishment, this Tana teaches it, as is taught in the first clause, with regard to bloodshed. If a Gentile murders another Gentile, or a Gentile murders a Jew, he is liable. He is liable for punishment. But if a Jew murders a Gentile, he is exempt. He is exempt. So this is Sanhedrin 57a in the Talmud. This is the authoritative site online for the Talmud translation, the William Davidson Talmud. You can go to safaria.org and just Google Sanhedrin 57a, and you can see the passage. You can see the Hebrew right there, and you can read the whole context. The whole context here is that if a Jew murders a Gentile, there is no punishment. He's exempt. And some rabbis have debated whether it's even a sin. Is it even a sin to kill a Gentile? Like, for no reason. We're not talking about war context. We're talking about just, in civilian life. If a Jew kills a Gentile, is that a sin? There's a debate. Some rabbis said yes, it is sinful. Others said no, it's not even a sin. And then when it comes to punishment, they all agree because the Talmud is explicit. There is no punishment. And the Quran points out this is wrong. This is not what was taught. The teaching to the children of Israel is that for a life, there has to be, if you kill a life, a human life, not a Jewish, not a believer, just a life in general. That is the teaching of the Quran. So this is what could have been brought up by the Imam. Like, this is very relevant. This is very relevant. Any kind of Zionist or Christian Zionist or Jewish Zionist who wants to bring up the Quran, passages of the Quran, they need to be confronted with Sanhedrin 37a, Sanhedrin 57a. These passages should be explained by them as Zionists, because not only is this within their books, this is what they're actually implementing in Gaza, in Lebanon, in Syria, in Jordan, in Iran. This is what they actually believe, and they're implementing, and they're being funded with all kinds of $1 billion in weaponry from the United States. So that needs to be explained. Okay, so let's go back.
He's a great Islamic scholar, yeah? He's one of the most renowned in the world.
That doesn't mean I have to agree with everything he says. As for example,
but do you understand why we have a problem when a million...
As a human being, I don't agree with the majority of your views, but that doesn't mean I don't support your journalism. That doesn't mean I agree with the work that you are doing.
Okay.
It doesn't mean I don't support your journalism. I don't agree with your views, Tommy, but that doesn't mean I don't support your journalism. Like, what kind of journalism does Tommy Robinson do? He's just an agitator. He's a paid shill for Zionism to generate as much hatred and animosity towards Muslims as possible, whether in the UK context or anywhere else. What journalism? So this is, like, I don't get it. Like, this... Are you is this Imam intimidated? Like, is it just because Tommy Robinson came to you with a smile on his face, like he's smiling and treating you nicely, politely, and then you can't help but be charmed by him? You're taken in by his charm, so now you have to kiss up to him and say, well, I don't necessarily disagree with your journalism. Pulitzer Prize winning journalist Tommy Robinson. Like, this is obsequiousness that is nauseating.
I'm happy with that.
But what I'm saying is, do you understand why, if we've got an Islamic scholar who's one of the most renowned in the world, he translates the verse that you just quoted to say kill non-Muslims?
Yeah, but if you look at see, one thing is,
just question him on that. Like, what? This is unheard of. Like, what you're saying that Ibn Kathir is saying, just kill non-Muslims because they don't believe. Where does he say that? We can go right now and look at any Ibn Kathir tafsir, and what does he mean by that? What does he explain by that? So just Google it. Like, just Google, and you can see the tafsir Ibn Kathir. It's translated. It's in English. He doesn't say that. He doesn't say that we need to kill non-Muslims because they disbelieve.
What's on paper? If you look at an example of how the Islamic society and the Islamic caliphate ruled for the past 13 centuries, you will find that isn't the case.
What about the ISIS caliphate?
We don't agree with that at all. That is...
What sect are you from, sir?
I'm a Sunni.
You're a Sunni?
Yes.
Okay.
The ISIS caliphate was not... I can't even call it a caliphate. That was completely against the Quran and Sunnah. Everything that they did is completely against. And I can see freely and openly that they are not Muslims at all.
So he does takfir of ISIS. Again, this is a blunder. It's a mistake. ISIS, they're deviant Wahhabis, like they're bloodthirsty, Khariji, deviant Wahhabis. They should be condemned. They're trash. They're being led by the CIA, basically. They're a weapon of the CIA. So they should be condemned, but we don't say that they're kafir. Like, the majority of the followers of ISIS are like idiots, like, who don't understand that this ISIS is a CIA psyop. Wahhabism is basically today, in this day and age, a CIA Zionist psyop. Like, they're just idiots. But we don't say that you're a kafir because you're an idiot. You're a kafir because you're an idiot, deviant Wahhabi. No, you're just a deviant Khariji loser. That's all that we need to say about them. But again, because ISIS is seen as the worst thing, the worst devil that you can imagine, then we do takfir on that basis. Whatever the West deems as to be evil and bad, we have to distance ourselves to the maximum extent. So we takfir. No, we have principles within Islam. We have principles of takfir. We have principles of determining who's within Islam and who is outside of Islam, the fold of Islam. So let's be consistent. Let's not just adopt whatever whatever sentiments and emotionality is coming from the West.
Hamas, they some of the teachings that they propagate and some of the things they have carried out is against Muslim teachings.
So he extends. He goes to ISIS. Tommy Robinson doesn't even mention Hamas. Tommy Robinson doesn't even mention it. This Imam has to submit his 2 cents unprompted and say, yeah, he links ISIS and Hamas together. When in fact they're opposed. Like ISIS takfirs Hamas. ISIS says that Hamas are these ikhwani, deviant, grave worshippers who side with the kuffar Rafidis of Iran. That's ISIS's view of Hamas. They're bitter enemies. They're bitter enemies of each other, but they're all lumped together. Again, this is exactly what Israel has been saying. Like one of the major talking points that was being pushed out by all of the Zionist outlets since October 7th is that Hamas is ISIS. Hamas is ISIS. Hamas is ISIS. They want to link together those two because they know how hated ISIS is universally. So Hamas is that. Even though this is complete nonsense, it's complete propaganda. Hamas itself will execute any kind of ISIS affiliate. That's what they've been doing actually since the ceasefire, because you had these ISIS groups, these ISIS gangs within Gaza that were collaborating with the IDF to take the aid, the food and medical supplies that were the very little that was trickling into Gaza. These ISIS gangs were taking over, stealing that aid. And who was helping them do that? It was the IDF. So these are ISIS Wahhabis are the worst traitors, and Hamas has been executing them now that there's a ceasefire and now that support from the IDF has run out. So, but this Imam is so clueless, or he's bought so much of the Zionist propaganda that he's linking ISIS with Hamas. Unprompted. Tommy Robinson didn't even have to bring up Hamas.
You're an Imam?
Yes, I am an Imam.
At a mosque in Leicester?
Nottingham.
In Nottingham?
Yes.
Okay.
Robinson is shocked, like, oh, you're an Imam? Okay. He's like, this is like gold. He's struck gold with this idiot.
Interesting chat, bro.
And I follow.
He's shocked. Like, interesting chat. Like, okay, let me just let this guy keep talking. Let me give this mic to the Imam. He's doing my job for me. Like, I can just sit back and relax. He's doing a lot better. This is much better than I could have hoped for.
Social media quite a lot, and I applaud you for your patriotism. But
I laud you for your patriotism. That's what he's saying to Tommy Robinson. I follow you on social media a lot. I laud you for your patriotism. Man, with friends like these, with imams like these, you don't really need enemies, do you?
Unfortunately, I think that you have maybe got the wrong picture and the wrong version of Islam. And
Did I
watched your podcast. I know you have Muslim friends.
Oh, you've gotten the wrong idea of Islam. Let me educate you about true Islam. You're just a hapless person who's been fed the wrong information. If I provide you the right information, then you're going to really think I'm a great guy and Islam is wonderful. And Muslims are wonderful. If I just give you the right information.
In growing up in Luton, and I think the area where you have grown up in was mainly was it Pakistani Kashmiri Muslims.
Pakistani
right?
Kashmiri.
And then
are you Indian?
Yes, I am.
Deobandi?
Yes.
Deobandi?
And you will notice that the Gujaratis, Deobandis, generally they are more kind of welcoming, and they are less inclined to this kind of violence and sectarianism.
What about Tablighi Jamaat, the mosque?
Yes, I
Yeah, so the contrast is, when it comes to the Pakistani Kashmiris, they're more inclined to violence and sectarianism. But the Gujarati Deobandis, we're all about peace. Like, so just blatantly racist, like just throwing Pakistanis under the bus, Kashmiris under the bus. Like, you'll find the problem with you, Tommy, is that you've been exposed too much to the Pakistanis and the Kashmiris, and they've given you the wrong impression that Islam is violent. If you had only learned Islam or learned about Islam through a Gujarati Deobandi, and you would understand that Islam is all about peace. Islam is about that's the only issue, Tommy. The only issue that you have is who you're hanging out with, who you're getting your Islam from. Don't get it from the Pakistanis and the Kashmiris there. They're inclined to violence and sectarianism. So shocking.
Yeah,
That's your main mosque?
No, I'm not part of the group, but I know people that are part of the group.
Okay.
What do you think about Ali Dawa and...
Not a nice thing to say about Tablighi Jamaat. He just has to disassociate. Like a soft disavow. Like, oh, no, I'm not a part of them. I'm not a part of them. So, but it's... and he has to bring up that he's Deobandi. But it's others who are sectarian, not him.
People like them, I don't really have any inclination towards those kind of people. I don't really agree what they kind of do. Going out to the streets and forcing people and, being aggressive. I've seen some of his videos. He can be quite aggressive. That kind of approach, I'm more of a gentle person. I like talking to people.
What about his...
So disavows Ali Dawa. And he says, I'm not inclined to those kinds of people. So he's talking about people like us, like me. Like he's talking about these du'at, and I've met so many, I know so many of this type, like these quote unquote traditionally trained. He's an imam and lives in this kind of ivory tower and looks down and poo-poos like, oh, these people like Daniel Haqiqatjou, like they're aggressive, they go and debate, like what benefit does this have? Like, oh, they don't even know Arabic, they don't even know Arabic grammar. Have they sat and studied hadith and nahu and sarf and Quran, tafsir? Have they sat and studied for years like us? Like we're doing the real service, we're doing the real service, not like these aggressive trolls. This is what they say, they say it on their Facebook pages, or they say it on Twitter, or in their private gatherings. But I've noticed that many of them, when I meet them in person, or I speak somewhere and then they come to me in person, they're very nice. In fact, they're smiling just like this guy is smiling right now, this imam. I bet you if this imam met Ali Dawa or any of these other du'at, he'd also say something, oh, I'm very impressed by your journalism, and oh, you're doing a lot of good work. The same kind of kissing up that he does with Tommy Robinson. If you were in a position to talk to some of these du'at, he would have the same kind of lip service. And it's happened to me many times. Someone will come and start speaking me up, talking me up. Oh, Daniel, I love your work. You do great. Your debates are wonderful. But they don't know that I know what they post. They don't know that I recognize them. I recognize you. I just smile and nod while knowing internally that you're a snake. I know what you wrote. I know that what kind of things that you actually say about me on your social media. You want to pretend like you're a fan. Now in person you want to smile. In person you want to kiss up. But I know what you've actually said. I remember. I have a good memory. So these people are dime a dozen, unfortunately. And again, he's like poo-pooing, oh, Ali Dawa is aggressive, or these people are aggressive. But honestly, you can't do Ali Dawa wouldn't humiliate himself in front of Tommy Robinson in the way that you're doing. So clearly, the training that has distinguished you from Ali Dawa, the training, the imam training, the madrasa training that has made you a knowledgeable imam, that separates you from the riffraff like Ali Dawa or me, that hasn't been sufficient to allow you to talk to Tommy Robinson in a coherent way without throwing the Ummah under the bus, throwing the Palestinians under the bus, throwing Ibn Kathir under the bus, throwing Tablighi Jamaat under the bus, throwing the Pakistanis and the Kashmiris under the bus. Clearly your madrasa training, your elite, oh, you know Arabic grammar, and oh, you've memorized so many hadith, and that hasn't apparently helped you in a way that you can be able to engage with someone who really is a big enemy of Islam, a big enemy of the Muslims, and he's not a particularly like smart enemy. Like he's not particularly like crafty. He just has some standard lines that you could easily have responded to, that any kind of riffraff da'iyah could be able to respond to at least, and you can't. So you have this condescension coming from some of these individuals, and they need to eat some humble pie, in my opinion. You know, some of these people that like to grandstand and condescend and talk about how much Arabic they know. Oh, you know so much Arabic. Oh, wow. Yeah, we put ilm in its place. We put knowledge in its place. But if it's real knowledge that you have, if it's real insight that you have, if you have reached a level of knowledge and understanding, and you achieve that through these studies, then why is it not being demonstrated right now? In this candid situation, in this candid encounter with an enemy of Islam, why doesn't it shine through? You had 15 minutes here, and it's just every other sentence is worse than the last. So you're actually doing a disservice. Like people like this do a disservice to ilm. They do a disservice to the madaris that they graduate from and the scholars that they learn from. They do a disservice because the average person, the average Muslim looks at this and they say, wow, so you went and studied for 4, 5, 6, 7, 10 years and Tommy Robinson has made you his dog? Tommy Robinson has humiliated you and you have fallen into every single trap. You've backstabbed the ummah. Like, this is what the madrasa education is accomplishing? This is a failure. This is a failure. So this is a massive disservice to ilm. It's a massive disservice to Islamic knowledge. And some of these people, and you know, I take it personally. I take it personally because they attack me. They attack me and they want to play this game of credentials. And look, I don't claim to be a Muslim scholar. I don't claim to be a alim. Never have claimed that. But that doesn't mean that the kind of work that du'at do or debaters do has no value, has no value or has no importance. When I was criticizing the push for LGBT acceptance, for the acceptance of feminism, when I pushed against the compassionate imams, how many of these types came out and said that Daniel is a troublemaker? Daniel is someone who just wants to go against the scholars. And where has he studied? And what kind of Arabic does he know? And this and that and the other. That was their response. And they exposed themselves because many of the average Muslims were saying that, well, all I hear Daniel saying is that Muslims shouldn't be accepting gay marriage and Muslims shouldn't be accepting LGBT rights. And maybe Muslims shouldn't be at like a LGBT march or standing shoulder to shoulder with Qawm Lut. Like, Daniel seems to have a good point. And sure, he might not be an alim, but isn't that something that even the most ignorant Muslim who has the basic knowledge of Islam knows is correct? And you're going against him? So they discredit themselves with this kind of big leaguing. Like, you're big leaguing, like, oh, you're not credentialed like I am. It's these types. And when these types get in front of a camera and they get the most insignificant amount of pushback, they crumble. They fold like a house of cards. Another example was Sohaib Webb. Like Sohaib Webb, who called me out. He came to my city and then he called me out. He was speaking at a masjid. And he said that Daniel is this and that. Daniel is ignorant. Daniel doesn't know what he's talking about. Why? Because I criticized him for all of his nonsense over the years, he was literally promoting LGBT activists and saying they're the biggest inspiration of his life. And feminists and promoting Playboy magazine, telling Muslims need to, be reading Playboy because of, there's a hijabi that was profiled in Playboy magazine. So go, my friend, Noor, go check her out. I called him out on that. Then we saw he didn't expect me to roll up. He didn't expect me to show up at the masjid to confront him. And I did. And we saw what happened. Like, all the knowledge and all the superior training that he has from Azhar University, the premier Muslim university, Islamic university of the world, Azhar in Egypt. You like to brag about that. You like to claim that that's where those are your credentials. So who's Daniel? Okay, well then why did you fold? Like, why were you embarrassed and humiliated? Because you can only talk, when you have no pressure, when there's no pushback, when no one can question you for your BS. Same thing with a lot of these imams. And then when they do get in front of the camera and someone as idiotic as Tommy Robinson comes, then they fold and they look like buffoons.
What in terms of? He's a Muslim.
Let me ask you. So say, like, for example, in your perfect society, yours,
Yes.
Forget Britain, what you would love to see for the whole world or your country or where you live, what should, in that nation, what would you put the legal age for sex as?
I'm not a legislator. I'm not familiar with law, so I can't give an answer to that question.
No, in your society, if you could govern society, you're an imam. In your ideal society, what would the rules be around?
There is no specific age. Whatever the culture of that and the norm of that society is, that would be the legal age. So, for example, in medieval Britain,
whatever is the culture, Islam is just based on whatever is the popular culture in the West. Whatever is acceptable. So if it's 18, it's 18. Because see, that's how you know that Tommy Robinson has experience with these apologetics, because he says, in your ideal society, in what you think is ideal, and shouldn't what's ideal be based on the sunnah of your prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam? So the way Tommy phrased it is with anticipation for the usual apologetics. But this buffoon is clueless, and he just repeats the same kind of apologetic. We just go by the urf. We just go by the culture. Yeah, that's what the usul in Islam is. Usul al-fiqh is just, what is the popular culture? That's what we set as the ideal. That's how that's what we based our laws on.
the age was very young.
But what about now? What about now?
So now the norm of society would be that 18 plus. And if somebody was to get married younger, I wouldn't agree with that, because it's not the custom and the norm of this age.
Wouldn't agree. Wouldn't agree with that if it was younger. If tomorrow the West decides that 18-year-olds are children, 18-year-old is like a baby. How can you marry? How can you even think about an 18-year-old in that way, you disgusting pedo? Tomorrow, they raise the age to 24 or 25. Then anything younger than that, that'd be wrong. You'd disagree. Because that's the order, that's the custom, right? That's your logic, right? And by the way, Tommy Robinson asked about age of consent. He's not even talking about marriage. He's talking about age of consent. Guess what the age of consent is throughout the Western world, according to the UN human rights doctrine? Age of consent is actually very young. Age of consent could be even 10 years old, 11 years old, 12 years old. If two 12-year-olds consent to be in a intimate relationship, that's perfectly legal in much of the Western world. In fact, it's a human right. It's a human right. That's why they teach children in elementary school in the UK, in America, many states of America. They start having sex ed, starting from kindergarten, starting from elementary school, and saying, yeah, well, maybe you're a boy and you like girls, or maybe you're a boy who likes boys. Maybe you're gay. Maybe you're trans. You have to explore this. Yeah, they're teaching sex ed to elementary school children. Why? Because their belief is that if it's consensual, two fifth graders getting together, two fourth graders getting together, two or more, two fourth grade boys, they have the right to explore. They have the right. They have the sexual freedom. And it's actually backwards religion that says that that's wrong. That's backwards cultural tradition that says that's wrong, or that you have to be married. So these are two separate things, age of consent versus age of marriage. And the hypocrisy of the West is that they want the age of consent to be as low as possible because that's in line with liberal ideals of sexual freedom, but they want the age of marriage to be as high as possible. That this is the contradiction that anyone can point out, that anyone could point out, especially if you're talking to Tommy Robinson, or you're going to be, as an imam, like you haven't gotten this question before, you haven't actually had to deal with this issue in your masjid community. No, apparently not. So you have to rehash the same slop apologetics.
So Islam is unique, that it follows the customs and traditions of the society, the community.
Doesn't it wish to? So
Islam follows the customs of the community. Islam is being a Muslim means to just follow whatever the kuffar do, whatever disbelievers do. You just follow that. You follow and you don't question. That's our Islam. So don't question me. Don't question me about where Islam contradicts liberal secularism or the human rights status quo as defined by the Enlightenment. Don't question me on that, because we just follow. So whatever you think is right, whatever you think is just, that's the Islamic position. Some way, somehow, that's also the Islamic position, because we just follow. Our religion tells us that we have to follow your lead, Tommy Robinson.
wasn't Muhammad perfect?
Of course he was.
So wouldn't it be about implementing the way Muhammad lived?
He never preached this. He never commanded us to do this. The Quran clearly...
He never commanded us to do this. Okay. Like, this is such a distortion, so many lies.
It says the marry women, that there's no age restriction, there's no limit. It's based on the norm and culture of that society. So if you look at medieval Britain, so many kings, even in the Bible, many examples of...
Richard the Lionheart had an 11-year-old wife.
Yeah, exactly.
But we don't want to emulate Richard the Lionheart. Can I ask one more question, Mo?
It just like rolls his eyes like... okay, yeah, we've heard this apologetic before. All he has to say is that, well, in Islam, it's based on puberty. It's based on the biological reality, the way that God has created us. You know, that's the age appropriate for sex. That's the age appropriate. And then Islam has restricted it according to marriage. So puberty happens, the onset of puberty happens at different ages. And Islam regulates sex on the basis of the onset of puberty. Once the individual, whether male or female, starts having sexual desires, that's their nature, that's their biology. That's when it's appropriate to be engaged in sexual relations in the bounds of marriage. That's what Islam teaches. And guess what? You have, in terms of the liberal secular West, you have the same standard minus the marriage part. Because you think that you think that even before onset of puberty, if you have a little boy or a little girl who wants to explore, they have the right to do that. That's their sexuality. That's according to your standards, the liberal secular standards, actually, which is what makes the teaching of sex ed in elementary school necessary. So let's look at your standards. When it comes to Islamic standards are based on biology and are based on propriety through marriage. Let's talk. It's superior to what your societies have on offer. So that's the kind of interaction that an imam needs to have, or a Muslim in general needs to have, with these anti-Muslim haters, or these Christians or Jews or Hindus or atheists who want to attack Islam. We have to put them on the defensive, not us be on the defensive. Why should we be on the defensive? We have Islam. They have to be on the defensive. We have to push them. We have the truth. But instead, this humiliation ritual has to happen every so often. And this is why someone like Tommy Robinson would never debate me. Tommy Robinson would never dare to debate me in a structured debate where he can't just start screaming and shouting. He would never debate me, because he knows he has no answers to the things that I would bring up. Like, I would bring up some of these age of consent laws. I would bring up, by the way, the Talmud. The Talmud, which says in Nida, what was the number? I forgot the Nida is the book of the Talmud that cites the fact that a girl is married through intercourse, even as young as 3 years old. Nida 33. Let me bring it up. Well, there's Sanhedrin 55b. But there's like multiple passages within the Talmud. Yeah, this is one of the passages. A girl who is 3 years and 1 day old. Sorry. A girl who is 3 years and 1 day old, whose father arranged her betrothal, is betrothed with intercourse, as the legal status of intercourse with her is that of a full-fledged intercourse. And in case where the childless husband of a girl who is 3 years and 1 day old dies, if his brother, the Yavam, engages in intercourse with her, he acquires her as his wife. And if she is married, a man other than her husband is liable for engaging in intercourse with her due to the prohibition of intercourse with a married woman. So this is the law, and this is Jewish law. And it's not saying that this is wrong. It's not saying that this is an exception. This is saying that if this happens, this is the legal status. It's a marriage. It's a betrothal. The legal status of intercourse is that of full-fledged intercourse. So there you go. Why can't we bring up Sanhedrin 55b? Islam doesn't say that 3-year-olds should be having intercourse. Islam doesn't say that. Islam doesn't say that that's allowed. In Islam, it's puberty, the onset of puberty. And that's the biological reality. But Judaism, the Talmud, the holiest book of Judaism, goes contrary to that. So yeah, let's be real. Let's bring an interfaith dimension to these discussions with Tommy Robinson. It's absolutely necessary to highlight these Jewish texts. Especially since someone like Tommy Robinson, they want to dredge up the old playbook of animosity, creating animosity and hatred and demonization of Islam and Muslims. Okay, well, let's include an interfaith dimension. Let's bring up these texts from Judaism as well.
You've watched...
I need to run for prayer.
Okay, sorry, man. You've watched a lot of my content, yeah?
Yes, I have, yeah.
Do you think I hate Muslims?
I wouldn't say you hate Muslims, but I think you have sort of hatred and a misunderstanding, a misconstrued understanding of what Islam is. And
I wouldn't say that you hate Muslims. I just think you have a misconstrued because you're hanging out with all those Pakistanis and Kashmiris. If you were hanging out with me, like I will set you straight about what the true peaceful Islam.
I believe that's because of maybe the environment you grew up in and the things that you saw growing up. You mind if I take a picture?
Of course not, bro. Of course not. Of course.
Let's take a picture. Let's take a selfie. So happy. Look at that smile. Look at those pearly whites. Such a memorable occasion. Gotta get a nice memory, selfie memory with Tommy. That time that I met Tommy in the bazaar in Jerusalem.
See you later, man. See you later, bro. Let's go straight in his group chat.
Yeah, they can't believe it. Like they're laughing at you. They're laughing at your community. Like they just can't believe what an idiot you are. And what makes it so funny is that you yourself don't realize it. So like that other Zionist Jew standing there next to him, laughing it up, like, look at this idiot, look at this buffoon.
So I've just arrived on Monday. So when I saw that you're in Israel, I thought maybe I might even bump into him. Never expected that I'll have an interview with him. But thank you.
He's great.
Of course. Yeah.
Cheers, bro. Thanks for your openness, yeah? Thanks for talking.
Have a good
Cheers.
day. Thank
See you
you.
later. See you later. It was nice.
That was good.
It was nice. Let me ask him why you're not allowed
No,
in.
it's fine.
Let me ask him.
All right, so he went for prayers, but he was blocked. He couldn't actually go through that section to reach the masjid there. He was blocked. So they're coming in asking him, well, why were you blocked?
Can't film them. No, but
1 second.
hold on. I want to know why you're not allowed in.
Don't worry, it's fine. Don't worry.
Yeah, but I want to know why you're not allowed in. I want to know why you're not allowed in.
I don't know. But see, we believe that every step we take to the mosque is rewarding. So whether I mean,
We've just been told, because we were told Jews can't walk up there. We were told Jews can't go in there.
Okay.
That's what we just got told. Why can't he go in?
We were told that Jews can't go in that section, so I guess they thought after that embarrassing display, that embarrassing interview, that maybe he's a Jew. Like maybe this imam is actually a Jew.
Can you go in? See if you can go in, Evan. No one can go in.
Jews can't go in. Only Muslims are allowed that.
Only Muslims are allowed in this.
Only Muslims are allowed in that way.
So what did he say to you?
Maybe now he thinks you're. Maybe now they think you're a kafar because you're with me.
That's the first time I've ever seen that, because
Yeah.
Muslims are allowed up there.
No,
Jews,
I've been-
infidels, and monkeys
I
have
wasn't-
to go through the ramp.
I wasn't allowed in the morning as
infidels
well.
and monkeys.
You weren't allowed in the morning either.
Yeah, I wasn't allowed in the morning too. And yesterday I
They
wasn't.
asked you for your passport. Is it because it's a British passport?
I think it's because it's British and they think that most British people support Palestine, and so they have this kind of.
No, that's not going to
I'm
be. All tourists.
Because his government what?
Because his government go to Lahai to the judge for Israel and Gaza. This is the reason.
Because the British government is saying, because the British government probably recognise the state of Palestine, he's a British passport holder. That may be why he's not allowed. So this is Keir Starmer's fault. What do you think of Keir Starmer?
To be honest, I don't like him as well.
You don't like him?
No.
Can you say Keir Starmer's a wanker?
I'm not going to say that. I don't. As a Muslim, I don't use.
You don't want to swear, I get it, especially as an imam.
Yeah.
Okay.
So he just got done saying, oh, we just want to live in peace. Oh, I'm happy. You know, if Muslims can live in peace, it's with the Jews in Israel. He just got done saying all of that nonsense. And then he himself is being blocked by the IDF. They're saying, well, this is not a street that you can go down. It's not a street. You can't go to this area. That's the apartheid system. That's the apartheid. There are Jewish areas and there are Muslim areas. You cannot go from one to the other. So he's been repudiated within minutes of that slop that he was spewing, but he still has a smile on his face. That's amazing.
Fair play.
But,
What's your view on Keir Starmer's government?
to be honest, when we voted for him, we expected Labour government and the Labour government for the people. But unfortunately, it's been quite the opposite. You know, the hike in taxes and the cut in benefits and for elderly, so many things that they've done that they promised not to do, but they've.
So you
Like, what an idiot. Like, we expected Labor to be for the people. We expected Labor. So all the campaigning we did and the voting, we thought it's going to be for the people. Like, isn't that so typical? So typical with this class, you know, this class that tolerates actually the slop coming from compassionate imams, pushing Muslims to embrace liberal politics, liberal politicians, labor, whatever. And then, we had such high expectations. They're going to be for the Muslims, for the people. But no. We fell for it again. We fell for it again award. Like every election cycle, the same thing. The Muslims are pushed by these imams. Oh, and in some certain cases, they say it's fard, it's wajib, you have to vote, in parentheses, for the Liberal Party, for the Liberal Democratic Labour Party, for example. Whatever. And then after the elections are done, no more talk about this. We don't talk about the fact that we got screwed again. That we got all the promises that we heard when these politicians came to our masajid and were soliciting our votes, how they didn't meet any of the promises, and in fact, they threw us under the bus for the Jews and the Zionists again. No talk about that. no bringing up so that lessons can be learned, so that we don't make the same mistake for the 50th time, for the 50th election cycle. We don't fall for the same mistakes. No. This guy is just learning now. He just learned very recently that the Labour is not really all that the party of the people that they claim to be. So,
You as a voter of Keir Starmer, who would you vote for in the next election?
To be honest with you, I don't know.
Reform?
All the politicians that I see out there,
Reform?
that would be, see, the issue on immigration, I agree with it to a certain extent. See, my parents were born in this country, but my grandparents were immigrants from Africa and from India. And they came and they worked hard. They came, they lived in houses, 4 or 5 people together. They worked and then they earned the money. Now they all have their own houses. See, but
so he's not even like fresh off the boat, so to speak. It's not like his parents were the second generation. He's third generation. His grandparents were the immigrants. His grandparents were coming off the boat. His parents were born in the UK, and he's the second or third generation. Is that second or third generation? So it's even less excusable the way that he's talking, or just finding out about the way politics works. Like, oh yeah, Labour. I'm disappointed with Keir Starmer. Like, this is like so embarrassing, but it tells you like and this is the thing about the UK, increasingly America, like you have these institutions. Like he's gone through the institutions. He's a graduate of one of these madaris. He's at the masjid. He is an imam, leadership of a masjid. And his, oh wow, look at his beard. Oh wow, look, mashallah, he's wearing a thobe. Mashallah, he has memorized Quran. Mashallah, he can cite you, the manuals of fiqh from the Hanafi school. And wow, mashallah, he can. But just so politically inept, so inept in being able to address common criticisms against Islam. So it's not just the politics, it's also the way that he presents Islam, the way he talks about Islam, and basically says that, positions himself as a follower, as a subjugated follower of the dominant culture. So really how what good does wearing a beard and wearing a thobe and dressing in sunnah and speaking and walking sunnah, what good does that do when mentally you're completely colonized? You're completely mentally colonized. Like, this is a wake-up call. And yeah, things are only getting worse. Things are only getting worse, unfortunately, and where's the will to change things?
the problem with the influx of immigrants now is that they are coming just to kind of benefit from the system without contributing to society, and I think that's problematic.
Okay.
And I have also this issue as well, that so many of them are coming and they're committing crimes. And again, this goes back to not following Islam correctly. See, rape, Islam prohibits sex outside of marriage.
Unless at war.
That's a whole different discussion and topic.
But if at war, Muslims can take non-Muslim women as sexual slaves?
They can't just take it just like that. There's rules and regulations.
Rules and regulations, but some of the verses in the Quran say that outside your full wives, take whatever your right arm possesses, you are blameless.
Yeah. So if you have attained a slave girl due to the correct conditions...
What correct conditions can there be for a slave girl?
It's a prisoner of war. So if a female is captured as a prisoner of war...
Like the Jewish ladies who were just taken by Hamas?
No, because that wasn't... that would not be classified as the jihad, would it?
But it was to them, to Hamas?
To them.
And it was to Boko Haram? And it was to ISIS with the Yazidis?
All those groups, I don't agree with them at all.
I know you don't agree with them, but you understand that they take the verses. They take the verse in the Quran, which legitimise slave girls.
Yes. So that's again due to a lack of correct understanding, or maybe just the Prophet ﷺ himself said in a hadith, a time will come when people will read the Quran, but it will not pass their neck, meaning they will read the Quran and act upon the verses, but it will not enter into their hearts. They will not practice and understand the Quran correctly.
The irony of this guy relaying that hadith. Like, they read the Quran, they read the hadith, they read all of these books of knowledge. They can speak Arabic, they can recite Arabic poetry, but nothing has gone to their heart. And when they speak, they reveal themselves. Again, like, you're an imam, like, you haven't worked out an answer to this question of slavery or slave girls. You're still like mucking about with these kinds of apologetics. Like, there's nothing that you can say. Like, there almost isn't a debate that I'm in on any topic where the interlocutor, whether he's a atheist, Christian, Jew, Hindu, won't bring up minor marriage, number one, and sex slavery, number two, and those passages in the Quran. And I have to respond over and over and over again. And so, yeah, there is very easy responses that you can give. Just go watch my videos, go watch my debates where I address this on the channel. But apparently, like, and yeah, like, what kind of, if you're going to be an imam, like, you have a public facing role, like, you are going to face these kinds of questions from just your congregation, not even necessarily a hostile environment. So how is it that you can't address this? Like, you haven't done enough homework to be able to address this, to put it in, give the historical information, give the ethical argumentation for it. Point out that, hey, Judaism has the doctrine of Yafat Toar. Yafat Toar, meaning the attractive maiden. Within Judaism, the rule actually is that within the battlefield, the Jew can actually take a woman and rape her, literally, in a back alley. Not even, like, that's not what Islam says. Islam says that to have a slave girl, like, you are obligated to support her. Like, she has to be fed and clothed, and she has certain rights over you. In Judaism, you can go rape and then kill. You just kill the woman that you just raped. That is allowed within Judaism. That's not slavery. That is just, you know, having your way with women and children and then executing them. And that's what literally is being taught, like, by the IDF rabbis, by the top rabbis within Israel. This is what they teach. Look at this. And I've presented this in debates. Israelis shout, "We will rape them" at hearing on detention camp for Palestinians. So this is when the Israeli public went out to demand the right to rape prisoners. And the IDF chief rabbi to be permits raping women in wartime. Eyal Karim, the IDF's intended next chief rabbi, has previously provided misogynistic interpretations of Jewish law that consider female conscription utterly forbidden and permits raping attractive Gentile women, Yafat Toar, as a way to keep up morale. That's what you find. Like, it's based on the Hebrew Bible. Yafat Toar is what the Hebrew Bible discusses. So this is a IDF rabbi who acknowledges those Jewish teachings, openly acknowledges it, and says that, yeah, of course. And this is what we see them doing to the Palestinians. So unfortunately, our imam here has no clue to be able to respond. Okay, almost finished.
Do you think maybe with the explosion of rape in Rotherham, in Telford, across the country, do you think maybe some of those people are taking these same verses that Boko Haram, ISIS and Hamas are taking?
I don't think so. The people who are behind these, what do you call them?
Grooming, they call them.
They are probably the most illiterate people in regards to Islam. You look at them, you'll be able to tell they probably don't even know a verse of the Quran. And so they are just hungry men who are feeding on young girls, unfortunately. And see, when we say it doesn't make sense, because to have a Muslim grooming gang, Islam doesn't allow grooming and raping.
Why do you think then, if they're just hungry men, why do you think there's not gangs of hungry Hindu men or hungry Sikh men?
They are out there, but maybe they are not as many because the Muslim population is much more. And number two, they are not highlighted as much as the Muslim crimes are highlighted. So, for example, there are also British grooming gangs as well, white British, and I'm sure you've seen them as well. Now they are much more compared to the Muslim grooming gangs, but they are highlighted much more.
If I went into the statistics and the numbers, Muslim men make up 90% of the convictions for gangs of men. In fact, groups of men who come together to rape young girls. Why do you think they're so overrepresented?
I have no idea.
No, okay.
Completely.
Are we allowed to? Do you think we are allowed to explore if there is a religious justification for it? Can we have that open discussion around Islam?
Would, but I doubt there would be any religious justification for that at all.
Okay. This is a fascinating discussion with this going on in the background, though. With this going on in the background, though.
Islam, Christianity, and Judaism. This is
Jerusalem.
This is a special, unique thing about Jerusalem is that all three religions have lived in harmony for the past 9-10 centuries.
You know what they're singing about?
No.
This retard, he's like, they're like disrupting in the background, and they're gonna say exactly what is being chanted by them. But this retard is saying, oh, look, this is the peace, harmony, Muslim, Christians, and Jews together of Jerusalem. It's just such a beautiful thing. But look at what they're chanting.
I happen to be singing about the fact that one day there'll be a temple, that God will bring the temple back like it does Allah.
Wow. Well, it's been a pleasure meeting you, man. Talk to you. Thank you.
Yeah, so these Jews in the background, this is the Muslim area. This is the Muslim quarter in Jerusalem, and they go there deliberately to shout about the third temple. We're going to build it, meaning we're going to bulldoze Masjid al-Aqsa. We're going to build the third temple. Our Messiah is going to come, and we're going to exterminate you. This is what they're saying. They go deliberately to the Muslim areas to intimidate and bully the Muslims that are there, the Palestinians that are there. And this retard imam is like, oh, look at the beautiful unity. Look at Jews, Muslims, and Christians. They're all coming together. So, yeah, this is... You can't even videotape a part of Jerusalem without, incidentally in the background, some kind of Jewish supremacist popping into frame, chanting about how they're going to exterminate non-Jews. Like, that's how common it is. That's how widespread it is. So just a shocking scene here. And so this imam got a lot of backlash. This all happened last week, end of last week. And so he published a apology. And he says in this apology, I hope you're well. I want to apologize sincerely for my words in a recent interview that has caused hurt and offense. I accept full responsibility for my actions. I was unprepared and my comments were wrong, which have caused real harm. I regret deeply the hurt my remarks have caused to the Kashmiri and Pakistani communities, to Palestinians, to my employers, family, friends, and to anyone beyond who were offended directly and indirectly. My reference to any community was totally unacceptable. I retract it unequivocally and sincerely ask for forgiveness from those who I've wronged. I also failed to challenge gross misrepresentations in the interview and to correct dangerous falsehoods when I should have. For that failure, I am truly sorry. I'm committed to learning from this. I will seek guidance from community leaders and scholars and work to repair the trust I have damaged. I hope and pray you will all find it in you to forgive me. May Allah unite and guide us. Omer Mullah. So this is his apology. Yeah. So I think that he doesn't explicitly say that, well, I distorted Islamic teachings. He doesn't explicitly mention that. So I think that's the big problem, actually. That's the big problem, because that's what is at the root. Like, when you have an inferiority complex, that's what causes you to find any way to appease someone like Tommy Robinson or some other anti-Muslim hater or Zionist. Like, it's because of the inferiority complex that you start misinterpreting jizya, start throwing Ibn Kathir under the bus, start misinterpreting the rules of jihad, start misinterpreting the rules of slavery. as many examples like that. Those kinds of issues, it's your inferiority complex that you're not able to challenge the dominant system, the liberal secular assumptions or the feminist assumptions. You're not willing to confront that, to be confrontational, to push back, to attack, to say that actually Islam is correct here. Islam is the superior system, and that's why we invite all to embrace Islam, or to at least, consider what Islam has to offer. That is the posture, that is the orientation that we have to have in doing dawah or being an imam or being just a upright Muslim. The fact that he doesn't have that mindset is what is causing him to be humiliated and giving these wrong responses. The Pakistan-Kashmir issue, that wasn't like the big problem. That's very problematic what he said. He said something very racist. Well, that's just a symptom of the deeper problem. That's a symptom of the deeper problem. And you have all these activists who will really focused on the racist part, the fact that he was willing to acknowledge Israeli propaganda about them being on the land for thousands of years and acknowledging an Israeli state. Like, they really pounced on him for those reasons, but they didn't say anything about these other distortions that he had regarding Islam. And that's actually ironic. That's actually ironic on a number of different levels. And I always point this out when I'm debating some of these libtard, decolonial, activist academics. You have a problem with a military occupation, a military genocide of Muslims, a military ethnic cleansing that happens physically, but you don't care about the mental colonization. You don't consider the mental genocide that is affecting the ummah. Because you, as this kind of libtard activist, yeah, you're against Zionism, great. But you're actually in favor of liberalism, secularism, secular human rights. You're in favor of feminism. You also think it's an abomination for a minor to get married under the age of 18. You're actually against minor marriage or young marriage. As a feminist, you are against the fact that Islam is contrary to homosexuality and LGBT. You want the Muslims to adopt the values of the liberal hegemon. You want the Muslims to adopt the feminist, liberal, secular values of the liberal Western hegemon. You're in favor of that kind of mental colonization. So isn't this hypocritical of you to pretend like you're some kind of warrior or champion against the liberal colonial project or the liberal imperial project? Isn't this hypocritical of you to position yourself as some brave warrior? And along those lines, you see some of the critics of this imam. And some of them, like this journalist, I won't tell you his name, but he writes this scathing piece like, oh, this imam, he's completely thrown the Muslims under the bus for his racism against Pakistanis and Kashmiris, for his inability to present an accurate history of Palestine and the propaganda, Israeli propaganda. He didn't adequately call it out and correct the record. And so this person, like this journalist, is saying that, oh yeah, this imam, it has no spine. He has failed to uphold these important truths about Zionism and the Palestinian cause. But he didn't mention the distortions of Islam. He didn't bring up the fact that the imam butchered the issue of minor marriage. He butchered the issue of jihad and jizya and tried to present Islam as if it is completely compatible with secular liberalism, said that Muslims, we follow whatever is the culture, whatever is the urf. That's our principle. We just follow. Like, those weren't mentioned by the brave journalist who wants to chastise the imam and criticize the imam for having no backbone. But you, the journalist, also didn't mention those issues. Convenient. Convenient. That's because if Tommy Robinson was grilling you, the journalist, on these issues, you would also cave. You would also fail to stand up for the correct Islamic position. You would also throw Ibn Kathir under the bus. You would also throw Islamic scholarship and the Sharia under the bus and try to appease. You would also do that. So you're no better. Stop pretending like you're some kind of brave warrior who's going to stand up for Islam. Like your track record shows that you also cave at the slightest provocation. So that's why I have to laugh, when I see these people acting like they're so much more principled than the Imam. No, you're cut from the same cloth, bro. You're cut from the same cloth. And the reason, arguably, why you're so gung-ho about the Palestine issue is because there is political space to advocate on behalf of Palestinians and to criticize Israel, to criticize Zionism. There's space for that. That's cut out, that you can find a place for your activism in that little niche that they've carved out for you and said, this is acceptable. But you won't go beyond that. You don't go beyond that. You don't talk about the Talmud. You don't talk about Judaism. You don't talk about what these rabbis are actually teaching behind closed doors, because that's not allowed. That's not politically acceptable. That's anti-Semitic. You're also not going to talk about minor marriage. You're not going to talk about slavery. You're not going to talk about jihad. You're not going to talk about jizya. You're not going to talk about these aspects of traditional Islamic law, because that's politically incorrect, and there's no space for you to do that without facing some kind of negative consequence, without losing some of your audience, without being labeled as an extremist or terrorist. So you're not going to touch those issues. And if you're faced with Tommy Robinson, he would make you squirm, and he would humiliate you in the same way that Tommy Robinson humiliated this imam from Nottingham. So that's the hypocrisy of all this. So yeah, that's it's really interesting that how much mileage the West can get if you have just a smiling white man who comes, Tommy Robinson smiles and pats you on the back. It's amazing how much an imam will concede. This is pretty much how how Muslims were colonized, basically. It just requires a smiling white man, and you're willing to give him the world. If you're willing to throw your religion under the bus, what else are you going to be willing to throw under the bus? All you have to do is smile and compliment you, and you're sold. You're sold. This is deep-seated inferiority. So what's happening in Syria right now as we speak. The CIA director Petraeus goes, or some of these other CIA officials go, and they smile at Goilani, and Goilani thinks, "Oh, they just want the best for Syria. We need the U.S. We need the investments. They just want the best for Syria." It's just literally a white guy, a white general in a suit, smiling at you, saying, "Oh, he's your biggest fan," and that's all it takes to sell the entire country, to the United States, for example, or Israel. It's a shame, my friend. It's a shame. Okay, that's what I want to share with you on today's episode. Let's see what you guys have to think in the chat. I'm really interested in seeing your thoughts. Game Cat, specifically a white tiger, says, any debate planned with Andrew Wilson? Yeah, inshallah, November 15th. I'm going to be debating him in Nashville, moderated by Modern Day Debate. They're hosting a debate conference. You can buy tickets, go to Modern Day Debate's channel, and you can go and buy tickets if you're in Nashville. You can travel to Nashville and attend the debate. It should be really exciting, really good. So check it out. And it'll also be eventually published on MuslimSkeptic as well. So you can watch it, the recording. Muslim Boogeyman, our moderator, says, did the Imam get a paid tour by Israel too? I mean, anything is possible. Dr. Robinson, Dr. Tommy Robinson, PhD, is well known for being an impartial, objective historian with deep expertise in the Arabic language. Yeah, well, the amount of respect that this Imam had for Tommy Robinson, he said, I respect your journalism, I follow you. He wasn't willing to say that about someone like Ali Dawa or Muhammad Hijab or me. No, we're troublemakers, we're aggressive. That's not the way of peace. The way of peace, apparently, is Tommy Robinson. Ketubot 11b6 is even worse. Is it? Let's check. Ketubot 11b. A lot of people put out Talmudic passages or citations, and they're just wrong. This looks like it's along the same lines. So, Rav Ushaya raised an objection to the opinion of Rav from the Mishnah with regard to an adult man who engaged in intercourse with a minor girl less than 3 years old, or a minor boy less than 9 years old who engaged in intercourse with an adult woman, or a woman who had her hymen ruptured by wood or any other foreign object. The marriage contract for each of these women is 200 dinars. This is the statement of Rabbi Meir, and the rabbis say the marriage contract of a woman whose hymen was ruptured by wood is 100 dinars. The rabbis distinguish between the halakha in the case of the intercourse of a minor boy and the halakha in the case of a woman whose hymen was ruptured by wood. An adult man who engaged in intercourse with a minor girl less than 3 years old has done nothing, as intercourse with a girl less than 3 years old is tantamount to poking a finger into the eye. Yeah, so there's no punishment for it. Similarly, the ruptured hymen of the girl younger than 3 is restored, and a young boy who engaged in intercourse with an adult woman renders her as one whose hymen was ruptured by wood. So it's not adultery. That's what this is saying. Yeah, but yeah, I see that you're saying this is not even a marriage context. This is just intercourse in general. Not even the marriage context. It's like nothing. Younger than 3 years old. So there you go. Why can't Tommy Robinson talk about these parts of the Talmud? This is not something that Jews have given up. The Talmud is still being taught in the yeshivas and their Jewish schools. And it's being practiced by the Israeli settlers against the Palestinians. It's being practiced by the IDF. It's being practiced by the Netanyahu government, the Israeli government. And in the United States, remember that scandal involving the tunnel system? And was it Brooklyn? They found these tunnels, undocumented, unregistered tunnels underneath their synagogue. And all of these stained mattresses were found. We never got answers to what that was about, right? So why can't we talk about that, Tommy Robinson? You want to talk about Muslims? You want to portray Muslims as these barbarian rapists, pedophiles? Why don't we talk about the Talmud and the Jewish community? Okay, good comments. Trader SZ, thank you, bro, for your huge super chat. Really appreciate it. Add crypto wallet address to bio. Okay, inshallah. I have trouble with crypto. Like, it's difficult for me to. I just keep getting technical problems, and I don't want to put anything out there that has the potential of losing money. Like, if someone donates crypto and then it just, because of a technical issue on my side, it's lost. I want to make sure that it's 100% set up properly, but I will add that to the priority list, inshallah. But I really appreciate the large super chat. Jazakallah khair. Trader SZ. Oh, by the way, Trader SZ, I love your comments on Twitter, on X. I'm following your back and forth with these Zionists, putting them in their place. So people can follow Trader SZ on X. Mesa says, don't you think that only Zionist backstabbing imams are being invited to Israel while a genocide is taking place? Why would a righteous imam go to Israel at such a time and give an interview to Tommy? It's possible. It's possible that this is not what it seems. What it seems like is this imam was just vacationing and he's in Jerusalem. You have Muslims that are going to go to Masjid al-Aqsa. They want to go and visit. The appearance is that this was just a coincidental meetup. But could there be more to this story that we don't know yet? Allahu A'lam. You know, I think that might be a little bit implausible, because usually when they bring imams that are pro-Israel, they're like loud and boisterous and in your face, like, yeah, I'm a Muslim and I love Israel. You know, that's not exactly, that wasn't the vibe that he was giving off. But maybe they're becoming more sophisticated in the psyop and they're less obvious. Okay, so Black Agent says, Salam Daniel, I plan to make it to Tennessee for your debate, inshallah. I hope to discuss my comic project Rachel with you after the debate. Okay, thank you. Hopefully we'll have time after the debate to discuss. And usually I have time. Usually there's a lot of the Muslims who come, we get together and we spend time, chat, talk, sometimes go grab a meal together. Okay, so now I'm looking at the regular chat. Any other comments before we wrap up for today? B says, Daniel, you should debate that punk Tommy. Yeah, I'd love to, but he would never agree to it. He ran from all kinds of debate challenges. People have been challenging him for a long time. Trader SC says, I'll probably get banned soon. Got many warnings already. I don't care anymore. I'll have peace of mind off this app if I get banned. Yeah, Twitter censorship is tightening up. So I would say try not to get banned. It's better to avoid it. I want to hear what Daniel thinks of studying the books of Ibn Abdul Wahhab and taking what is good, which is most of it. No, don't study Kitab al-Tawheed. Don't study his books. Most people don't even have access. Like, they don't study his books. They only study Kitab al-Tawheed. And they say, oh, well, this is just hadith. So what's wrong? Quran and hadith. So what's wrong with it? And I've explained what's wrong with it. Just go to our documentary. And the thing is, if you're just learning Islam, you won't be able to understand what's wrong with it. You won't be able to tell because you have nothing to compare with. So avoid it. Go to a better source. Go to a better source. Go to something that is not going to teach you how to be a Khariji, how to be a Khariji deviant. Daniel, come back to the UK and teach these so-called imams a lesson. Yeah, I don't know if they're going to let me back into the UK. The authorities there, I was surprised that they let me get in the first time. So now for sure they're going to, just on some kind of bogus claim that, oh, well, you're anti-Israel, so that means you can't travel. You can't travel to our country. Toha says, do you have a video about the teachings of the Talmud so that we can defend against Zionists? Yeah, I have multiple debates. Go watch my debate with Andrew Mayer. A lot of passages of the Talmud and that I present in that. Go watch my debate with Apus from 2 years ago, where we go over the laws of war in Judaism. That debate is actually, I have highlights on the channel, I think, but the actual debate, you can see it on my Rumble channel. YouTube, it was a little bit too hot for YouTube. So go to Rumble, you can watch that debate. Cover Apus getting caught with another woman in Jerusalem. I already covered that in a previous Haqiqatjou episode number 77 last week. You can watch that. What are brothers dressing up for Saudi Halloween? That's a good question. Maybe like a halal witch or wizard, or I don't know. The Medkhalis, that's a question for the Medkhalis. What are the Medkhalis going to dress up as for Halloween? What's Fareed going to dress up as for Halloween? Maybe some Hindu god. Just to show enough respect to the all the Hindus in the Gulf. What's my take on Sami Hamdi? Yeah, the brother has been blocked from traveling in the United States, and it's very sad. You know, I like Sami. There was a agitation campaign from a bunch of Jewish women, Laura Loomer and Amy Meckelberg, these vile anti-Muslim hags, and they agitated the Department of Homeland Security to block Sami from traveling in the United States. So he was detained, his visa was canceled, and he's gonna basically be sent back to the UK. So this is like, shows, you know, the nature of American democracy. Like, if you have a legal, valid visa to travel within the country, even if you're a permanent resident, you have a green card, and now they want to do it with actual citizens. If you criticize Israel, you criticize this random country in the Middle East with 9 million people, the rule of law no longer applies. The rule of law that we've set through our democratic, secular legal system, that no longer applies. You're criticizing Israel, that means you're a terrorist, and you can't travel through our country. So this is the reality of democracy and free speech, and Sami is being caught up in that. So it's very unfortunate. He's probably gonna, if he hasn't been released to the UK already, he will be soon, but it's very unfortunate. And this is like random, like influencers on X, like Laura Loomer, this rabid anti-Muslim hater, Zionist, spewing all kinds of venom against Muslims, saying that Muslims are all terrorists, we need to deport all Muslims, I hate Islam, etc., etc. And Amy Meckelberg, which we've covered in a previous Haqiqatjou, because she was connected to one of these, to an actual terrorist. She had an actual terrorist on her program, one of these ex-Muslims. She interviewed him on her website, and that ex-Muslim went on to commit a massacre in Germany. He drove a truck through a crowd as an ex-Muslim. And we covered that. And so she is directly, Amy Meckelberg, Amy Meck is what she goes by on Twitter. And she's been connected to literally a terrorist who committed an atrocity against the German people, the European people. And it's Sami who is getting his visa blocked. So Okay, guys. Appreciate everyone tuning in. We're going to be back tomorrow, inshallah, to talk about Halloween. So we have a lot of masajid in the United States that are doing Halloween events on October 31st. And you have some imams, some compassionate imams who are saying, yeah, there's no problem with Muslims celebrating Halloween. This is perfectly halal. It's not Halloween, it's Halaloween. So I want to share with you some of that information tomorrow, inshallah. The show is going to be at the same time. And we're going to cover that and look at the rot at some of these masajid, unfortunately, in the United States. That will be our show tomorrow, so be sure to tune in at the same time. Again, I appreciate everyone tuning in and contributing to the chat and the super chats. Really appreciate that, especially from Trader SZ for his huge super chat. Halal Zoomer, I'm seeing your super chat a little too late. What is it on Fresh from Fresh and Fit? What did Fresh do? I don't know, but maybe we can cover it tomorrow on the show. If there's a clip, I can react to it. We'll see. But that's our show for today. Appreciate everyone, and I'll see you tomorrow, inshallah, around the same time. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.